Thanks, Joe.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before Thee this evening, we are so thankful for the many blessings that we have for living in Uinta County's communities. We're so thankful for the opportunities that we have of self-government. We're so thankful for those young men and women in the armed services that keep us free and protected. We're so thankful for the leaders of our community that strive to do the best they can to uphold the principles that Thou hast put before us. We ask Thee this evening to be with us, please. To watch over that we might do the things we need to do. That we might follow Thy principles and guidance. Please bless those that could not be here this evening. Please bless us all. We might stand upright before Thee and before the people of our communities. We humbly say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have an agenda in front of us. I think you've all got a copy. If you don't, we can get some for you. The subject of the meeting tonight is the endorsement of candidates, and that setting up a committee for that. Since that is the case, I'm not going to run this meeting tonight because I am running for office. I'm going to turn it over to BJ, and I will take a back seat to all of this. So here's BJ.
All right. Don't salami. Oh, that's really loud. All right. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda? Hopefully everybody's got the agenda. If you have not received one, they're in the back.
So moved.
Second. With a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
We're going to get a roll call.
Perfect. I love it. So any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. The agenda is approved. At this point, we'll do the roll call. Actually, no, let's see here. Pledge. Okay, yeah, move the roll call.
Okay. We got a mic tonight, so this is good. Right, everyone can hear me? Last time we had so many complaints about us not being able to hear what's going on, so hopefully this is nice. Okay, so we have BJ Stokes.
Here.
Brent Hatch.
Here.
Casey Davis.
Rossi.
Cheryl Muntz. Cynthia Isom.
Here.
Okay, Eric South.
Here.
Sherry South.
Rossi.
Jennifer Lind. John Conrad.
Here.
Josh Rasnick.
Here.
Kelly Rasnick.
Here.
Christy Ellis.
Here.
Alan Yagi.
Here.
Becky Olson.
Here.
Gilbert Olson.
Here.
Bronson Berg.
Here.
Misty Berg.
Here.
Colleen Bolander. Rick Bolander.
Here.
Emily Van Vliet. Gary Pepperino. Joe Hickey.
Here.
Cindy Hickey.
Here.
Julie Housley. Lindsay Bowen. Margaret Huggins.
Here.
Mark Anderson.
Here.
Mark Isom,
Here.
Cal Welling, Janet Anderson, Patty Michaelite,
Here.
Ron Michaelite,
There.
Ryan Berger,
Here.
Stacy Wallace,
Roxy.
Wendy Schuler, Lonnie Nix,
Roxy.
Shannon Meeks,
Here.
Matthew Davis, Sally Davis, Robert Ward,
Here.
Ronald Walker,
Here.
and Vicki Jackson.
Roxy.
Thank you. Oh, yes, and Jay Anderson. And Juliet, here. Okay, wonderful. Okay, we'll figure that out real quick. Okay, we have 35 members here, which is enough for a quorum.
Okay, thank you. All right, hopefully everybody's had a chance to go over the previous minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the previous minutes from our last meeting? We have a motion, and is there a second? Joe? With a second, all in favor? And any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move into the secretary and treasurer report.
Okay, secretary treasurer report hasn't changed since last time, a couple weeks ago, and I put it in the minutes here. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, $3,990.74.
Can I get a motion to approve the secretary and treasurer report? With motion, do we have a second? Second, all in favor? And any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Okay, so we'll move on to the main event of this whole meeting. We have not been given a whole lot of direction from the state as far as the vetting committee goes yet. We've been given a list of questions that if we created that committee, these are the questions that they're requesting us to ask the candidates. The only other direction we've been given thus far is from the bylaws, which in Article 2, Article 2, Section 13, talks about rules for candidates. And I'm just going to read through this just really quick. The Republican Party of Wyoming shall make an electronic copy of the most recent platform available on its website. The candidate state chairman shall distribute a copy of the platform to each candidate along with all other candidate application papers. The candidate state chairman shall request each non-judicial candidate to indicate whether the candidate agrees, disagrees, or is undecided for each bullet point item in the party principles, including the preamble platform, and may include comments if desired. The candidate state chairman shall also require that the non-judicial candidate read the entire platform and indicate at least 80% of line items from the platform that the candidate strongly supports. All candidates for non-judicial offices shall file a complete platform review containing the candidate's responses at the time of filing for office. Candidates' responses shall be collected and recorded by the appropriate state or county party and may be published on the appropriate state or county party's website prior to the primary. If the appropriate state or county party has no website, a copy of the candidate's response may be received from the appropriate state or county party. A candidate must return a candidate's completed platform review and completed party funding application to be eligible to receive funds from the state or county party. Candidate vetting criteria. The party shall establish objective criteria for vetting Republican candidates seeking party nomination or endorsement criteria. Criteria shall include but are not limited to commitment to Wyoming Republican Party platform, demonstrated loyalty to party principles, legal eligibility to hold office, and for incumbents, their voting record. Vetting procedures. The state and county central committee shall each create and oversee a candidate vetting committee empowered to review and recommend approval or disapproval of candidates based on established criteria. The committee shall provide candidates an opportunity to respond to concerns prior to issuing a recommendation. State Central Committee shall vet the top 5 elected officials and congressional delegates. County Central Committees may vet all other races on their respective county ballots. Public notification, the party shall publicly communicate its endorsed candidates and any disciplinary actions undertaken ensuring transparency to the party members and the electorate. And so that is that section as far as how this runs and how it works. So at this point, I guess we can open up discussion connected to the vetting committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Uinta County Republican Central Committee chooses not to vet or endorse any candidates, and further that the motion be accompanied by a secret ballot.
That during the primaries or
Yes, in the
general?
primaries.
In the primaries.
So with a motion and a second, all those in favor? Oh, with a secret ballot?
Let's talk.
Let's have discussion on this then. And the way we're going to do discussion is a lot like we would do a normal Murphy by, or the bylaws would suggest. We want to have a con and a pro back and forth until we can't do it any longer. And so if you'd like to discuss, state your name.
Parker Jackson, North Carolina. I think that's a decision that can be made by the subcommittee. I don't think this meeting is the right time to do that because the bylaws require us to have a committee.
No, they don't.
Yeah, yes, they do.
So we cannot go back and forth, so we do have to allow them to make
Let me just read again what you just read. The state, so the county central committee shall create and oversee a candidate vetting committee, period, and that's the requirement. Empowered to review and recommend approval or disapproval of candidates based on established criteria. So there must be a committee. The committee then may provide recommendations, they don't have to. They may recommend endorsement, they may recommend approval or disapproval. All of that is preliminary. So nothing that the committee does is final, that the vetting committee does is final. Anything the vetting committee does must come back to this body at the next meeting for approval or disapproval. And at that time, I think it would be appropriate to have that type of motion just to decline to endorse as a part of that. I think under the bylaws, we're required to at least have a committee.
I just disagree. It says may. The sentence shall. It says, you want to read it all again?
I'd rather not.
It's right there.
Want to see that, right?
So, can I ask, why are you opposed, John?
I love to tell you.
Educate.
I say the floor is yours right now, so you do have time to do this.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I've been a part of the Republican Party for over 50 years. This is unprecedented. We do not want to go here. To endorse candidates in the primary. The Republican Party has always been a grassroots organization. We encourage people at the local level to participate. And what we're saying here is that we're going to bypass that local participation, and we as elected officials, as precinct people, are going to suggest who should be endorsed and who shouldn't. I'm telling you that's just wrong. And it's wrong for a number of reasons. First of all, we have to be able to tell the people that they can participate. Now I know you're going to say, well, they can't participate. But they're going to participate. Participate with a jaundice, because you're going to decide who to endorse and who not to endorse. It's just not right. It's just not right. That's for the local people to decide. Secondly, there are at least 6 candidates for public office who are on the Central Committee. I suggest to you that puts them in a very difficult position. I suggest to you that if they are endorsed, they'll say, sure, the party just endorsed them. But if they're not endorsed, they'll say, they can't even get endorsed by their local party. It's a very difficult position. Thirdly, the Wyoming Republican Party just last week filed a case in federal court suggesting that the rule to not be able to endorse candidates is unconstitutional. Why would we want to get involved in that before before the court case is even decided. It's inappropriate. We should be neutral until the court decides whether it's legal or not. I can tell you that this is unprecedented. 16 years ago, we ran for governor. Our committee, our campaign chairman was a man by the name of Deemer True from Casper. We were honored to have Deemer be our campaign chairman. At the same time, he was the national committee man for the state Republican Party. And he felt so strongly about not suggesting to anybody that the party endorsed me, he resigned. He resigned from his position as national committee man because he didn't want to have that conflict. That was appropriate, and I, to this day, appreciate his willingness to do that. I can cite numerous instances over the years where the party has either been challenged by trying to support one candidate or another, or have been reluctant to get involved in any one candidate. I'm telling you, it's inappropriate, and it's unprecedented. And I think that the Uinta County Republican Party should stay completely out. The purpose of a primary is to elect candidates from the major parties. After the primary, then we pitch in and elect Republicans. But before that time, we have no business trying to decide who our candidate should be. Now, if you want to do that individually, have that. But as a party, we should stay neutral. I hope that we will reject the opportunity to endorse any candidates or vet any candidates in the primary.
So, just before you go, Cindy, go ahead.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
So really quick, are you pro? Are you pro?
Am I what?
Are you pro for this endorsement? Do you agree with it?
I want to define a few things.
Okay, so the floor is now yours. You can take the floor. Thanks, Rob.
I think endorsing is not exactly what this committee is about. As a party, we do need to let people know who in the party actually supports the platform. This is the problem. In the two-party system, a group of people get together and get someone to represent them. Hence a platform so they can be on the same page. And then we have candidates that haven't even read the platform, won't read it, and don't represent us. I think as a party and this committee should let people know who supports the platform. I don't think it's about endorsement as much as letting people know who actually is a Republican. I think that's what the committee, this effort is more about. It is, the endorsing thing, that's a state thing, but we do have a problem with candidates not supporting the platform, and hence the people aren't supporting. Anyway, I just think the party does need to let people know who supports the platform. I think that's what this committee is about, more than that. I think that should be the purpose, really.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So go ahead and say your name, stand and say your name.
Mark Isom. I have an issue with that, Cindy, because
So according to Robert's rules, you approach the discussion this way, yes? That way we don't get into
I have an
arguments.
issue with that because Cindy says that we, as a committee, have a responsibility to let people know who's supporting the platform.
The party does. The party does.
But if we make that decision in this committee, then we are.
No. It's a regular finish.
I think that if the committee makes that decision, then we are usurping the right of the individual voter to decide who's supporting the platform. We don't need to tell them that. They don't need to have a committee go through that ahead of time and say, this is what you need to understand. They can understand that, they're the voters.
Thank you. So another pro.
I'm not a pro.
Okay, that needs to be a pro.
Was it me, pro?
Oh, pro, sorry, come on, my bad.
So I'm not speaking for. I'll tell you, I'm Bob Ford, for those who don't know me. I'll tell you, the only problem that I see in all of this, Mr. Chairman, is the very first meeting I ever attended that was a Republican meeting was the one that we hosted. The state convention that we hosted in Evanston was the very first one I ever attended. At that hearing, there's a lot of things that were hard. A lot of things were going on. There was a motion to basically punish our governor at the time, which is Matt Mead. It was very ugly, very contentious, but I can tell you the one thing that really set me off. I don't know, I don't remember who it was. I remember they were from Jackson Hole, and they stood up and they said, I'll tell you what, the argument was how do you determine who's a Republican and who's not? And they said if Nancy Pelosi was to move to Wyoming, and she said I'm a Republican, we'd have to accept that. And I can tell you from that day forward, I have said enough is enough. The party needs to have people that represents the party. And if you can't represent the party, you have no business saying that you are a representative of the Republican Party. And to me, that's what the public that's running around, they elect us. We're the people in our community that have been elected to represent the people in our community. They trust us, they trust our judgment. I think this is one of those points where they're expecting us to do our job. We've been elected to represent them in their interests. They want to know that the candidates that are running under the banner of a Republican actually back up the party's platform. And if you can't back the party's platform, I don't think you should have any opportunity to stand up and say, I'm a Republican. And I say that because I have a sportsman's group. And I have people that try to infiltrate my group, and I would not let somebody in that did not share our values. And I've always scratched my head. I've said from day one, this makes no sense to me that the Republican Party doesn't say, no, if you're not carrying our water for the party, you can't say you're a Republican. And I think that's all this is about. To me, it's not taking anybody's vote away from them. It's not saying that just because the party said this guy's a Republican, that doesn't mean that that guy's automatically going to win. What that means is anybody that lives in our community knows that that's somebody that says, I'm a Republican, and they stand for the party's platform. The guys that don't have it can't say that. They can't claim that they represent the party because they don't. And I get it. I mean, it's hard. I don't always agree with the party. I don't know anybody that's 100%. But I can tell you that I do try to follow the party platform. And it's tough. I mean, I had people mad at me because I killed the recalibration bill this year. I killed it in the House. I was chided because we haven't done that for 10 years. But I can tell you, I represented the people in my community. They said they didn't want to risk their insurance. They didn't want to have to go to the state pool. I voted against the bill and it died. And I can tell you, I do it again and again and again, because I talked to the people in my community, they said they did not want that. And so I did the best that I could. Was that against the party platform? Probably was. But you know what? To me, it was more important that I represent the people that elected me, and I did that. But I can tell you, I try to follow the party platform as best I can. I think that's what this is about, is do we want to let Nancy Pelosi come to our state?
Point of order.
And say,
Point of order.
No, that's not a point of order. That was what was said. That's what I'm saying. What they told us.
Yeah.
What's the
What's your point of order? What's your point of order? Yeah, you might not agree with me, but that was said. Ron, you were there. Do you remember that?
I was chairman of that committee.
Okay, do you remember
I
that?
do not. But
Okay.
somebody has to make a judgment
That's
of
right.
what the party platform is.
Senator Schumer.
And these platforms there. It's published. That's not on the platform.
Hey, why does SFW get a page of articles? Waiting for this.
Okay, order.
What are you talking about?
Okay, order, let's have.
Outside.
No, I gotta talk to
that.
I'm gonna talk.
Kids.
Okay, let's be adults here, folks. We're here to discuss as adults, and let's do it. So, first thing I want to bring up, and this is where I think the state party was wrong. We already have a statute in place, if somebody want to look that up. It's 22-25-104, I believe. 405. Anyway, I can talk. Oh, it's back on, it's back on. State statute trumps bylaws. Always has, always will. Okay? And state statute trumps bylaws. So when you read a bylaw, the state statute trumps that particular bylaw that I just mentioned. Says that no candidate of the Republican Party can be endorsed in the primary by anybody in the party, state or county. So, if our state party decides to do this, they're basically against the law. And it actually says in there is a fine, $1,000 fine. I think it's 6 months in jail. So why do we keep doing this? Why do we pick out bylaws and say these are more important than state statute? State statute's a law. So like today, I left my license home. I turned around and went and got it. Because I thought, gosh, you know, what if I get picked up and I don't have my license with me? It's the lie that I have. Went back and got it. And all of a sudden I thought to myself, this is what this is all about. Are we ready to follow the rule of law? We say we are as Republicans. So let's follow the rule of law. The law says, the statute says we're not supposed to do that. If the state or any county decides to do that, they have a vetting committee and they go decide to vet one candidate over another. Whoever decides to do that could be liable. Take a look at it. Take a look at it in your statute book. This is exactly what got us into trouble. Well, we're into at least two lawsuits just in the last, how many years, 5 years, where we've gone away from the statutes. It's cost our county money, it's cost our state money, and the state party says they're willing to do it again and send it back up to the Supreme Court. Why do we do this? If we have something in statute, let's follow it. Now, if I get reelected, I've already told people, listen, I'm happy to go and let's get rid of the statute. Let's take major parties out. Let's take minor parties out. It will save the counties a lot of money. We won't have to print all these ballots for precinct people. And then our state Republican Party, our county party, they can be a private club. They can do whatever they want. Just like the VFW or the Eagles or whomever. But right now we are not considered a private club because we are in the state statute as a major party. So you can say, well, we think bylaws trump statute. They don't. State statute trumps everything. It's just like saying, well, Wyoming has a ordinance that says this, but the state says that. A Wyoming eventually will have to follow the state statute. That's just, it's nothing more than that. And I don't care. Honestly, I'm at that point where I'm here for my constituents. I don't really care what a committee says. So there's 4 people running in my area. If the county party wants to go ahead and vet one of those gals and endorse them, go for it. I'm here just for my people. I'm not here to try to sway anybody. I'm not here to try to make everybody feel great about what I've done. If I've done a good job, people will vote for me. If I haven't, they won't. I'm okay either way. So I don't need this committee to tell people out there what I've done or haven't done. I see them all the time in the grocery store, in the coffee shop, out here in the restaurants. Everywhere I go, I talk to people. And if they have a problem with me, they tell me about it. If there's a vote they don't like, they tell me about it. And I work on it. And I'm not here to say, you know, everybody's wrong if you vote for this vetting committee. If you do it, it's going to turn out poorly. That's all I'm going to say. I think there'll be a lawsuit. And if we want to waste money on a lawsuit, or somebody who wants to take the charge say, let's do it anyway, I'm just saying ahead of time, let's follow the state statutes. And I'm happy to, do you have a question?
So is the endorsement that's illegal or the vetting process?
Yes, endorsement. So if you have a vetting committee and you endorse somebody, that's illegal.
But going through like what BJ read earlier, as far as going through and saying, if they, here's the bylaws, asking the candidates who are running to read that, and come back and say, hey, we've talked to the 4 candidates, they all are 80% in favor of, we're not endorsing anyone, but we have vetted, and we feel that these 4 candidates, 3 are great, 1 is questionable.
You could do that.
Okay, that's not.
But if you endorse them, that's the problem.
Okay.
But you could vet all you want.
So.
But you could endorse.
Okay.
And just say, you know, we're not gonna give money.
Right.
But we're gonna endorse them and go from there. But I'm just saying, let's
Thanks
just
for clarifying.
keep it clean. Other questions? Or, okay, it worked. Somebody was.
I don't know.
Maybe I was just maybe not on there.
There we go.
Those to have us.
Okay. Yes.
Do you want to mic?
Sure. Let's see if it works for you.
Doesn't work. If not, Joe said she's going to bring the whole second back.
Okay, I think we've had some real good discussion here. Thank you for allowing this discussion. I was in the, went to the state convention, and this is part of the bylaws here, so I love what you said, Wendy, about she was willing to change the state statutes. Okay, this is what it says in the new bylaws under new section. Exclusive remedy and constitutional rights. The procedures set forth in this section shall constitute the sole and exclusive remedy for disputes among the persons and entities described herein. Any party who files an action in court in violation of this dispute resolution process shall indemnify the opposing party for reasonable costs and attorney fees incurred in obtaining a dismissal of or otherwise defending against such action. As to any legal or equitable action filed after the effective date of this dispute resolution process, the Wyoming Republican Party and the parties to the dispute reaffirm and reassert their rights under the 1st and 14th Amendments to the Constitution of the United States to resolve internal political party disputes within the party without interference from any court or from any state or federal government entity. The party shall move any such court to dismiss the action and shall refer the dispute to the procedures provided herein. I think what we've been missing is our constitutional rights to associate, free association. That's in the very first amendment of the Constitution. I feel that we've gone far astray from our constitutional rights, and what we're doing is just bringing back those rights. To meet together, this is great. We learned so much from each other, and we've had some great discussion here. What I'd like to ask, if I may, how many of the candidates have one of these? 2024, 2026. Okay, Rowdy has one, Carl has one, John has one, Wendy has one, Mark has one. Great, okay. That's basically probably what we want more than anything, is to have the candidates, and we really prefer, when my husband and I went out, we even, what did we do? When you candidates go out door to door. We campaigned when we were committee men and committee women, and we gave everyone one of these when we went to their place. And they said, wow, I love that. They wanted to support the Republican Party. So, you know, people can lie about it too. They can say, yeah, I'll support that. But what we can do if they get elected, we just look at their voting record and then just, you know, vote against them next time. So I think we need to kind of have a vetting committee. I think we've talked about some really good ideas, but I think, you know, as we work those out, I think we work out a good, what do you call it, compromise.
Any more pro? Pro, yeah.
Supporting the amendment?
Supporting.
I'd like to speak.
My advice.
My fellow Republicans, let's think about this before we undertake an action that is not wise, not prudent, and not good. As Republicans, We've embraced the concept of local grassroots operations. We have historically, as Republicans, particularly Wyoming Republicans, found umbrage against government shoving its force down our throat. Why do we want the state party to shove this down our throats? I believe that Wyoming citizens in Uinta County are intrinsically intelligent enough to make decisions. And I don't think we need to label Wyoming, Uinta County citizens so stupid. They need some kind of vetting committee that anoints, puts a halo, and endorses or promotes candidate A over candidate B, C, D, and E. That just seems a slippery slope to a bad situation. Now, you may say, well, the committee will only do a few things. My experience is that like government, things expand and get out of control. The right answer here is to let the local citizens make their decision, and however that matrix is personally done. When individuals ascertain in an election, I like candidate A over candidate B, C, and D, however they come to that process. It's worked historically for this state and for our county. It's worked marvelously. I think we've been blessed for the most part to have some phenomenal candidates at the state and local and county and city levels. Why do we want to embrace something that has the potential to be deleterious, if not flat out pernicious? This is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. And I would kindly ask, as fellow Republicans, as fellow conservatives, let's take the conservative path and let's put our faith in the people and let the people make the decisions. Let the constituents make the distinctions. And we don't need some special committee to put a little gold star on that particular candidate because they check the boxes for the committee and they may not represent the rank and file of Uinta County. Please vote to support the motion to nip this in the bud and exterminate and extirpate this ridiculous and terrible and unthoughtful proposal to have a committee.
The batteries, Brian. So you just have to speak real loud.
So, I want to address a couple things. I know some of you I don't know. Again, my name's Parker, live here in Lyman. I am an attorney, so I'd like to talk about the legal stuff because that was brought up. It's correct that in a normal circumstance, a state statute would take precedence over one. That's because the state's the government, we're a private entity, and generally speaking, we're going to be subject to state statute. However, what was also brought up about the Constitution is also critical because in order for the statute to control, that's the Constitution. And the whole purpose, in fact, let me just read it. So this gets back, there's been a line of cases in Wyoming and before the U.S. Supreme Court on a variety of election matters and a variety of party matters. The most recent major case that touches on this issue is called the California Democratic Party versus Jones. If you want to look up the citation for that, it's 530 U.S. 567. It was decided in 2000. That was a legal challenge to the structure of the primary system in California because it was argued that the state statutes that dictated the method of primaries violated the party's associational rights under the First Amendment of the Constitution. The Supreme Court struck down those statutes because they infringed on the party's rights. And this was written by Justice Scalia. Let me read what Justice Scalia said. He said, representative democracy in any populous unit of governance is unimaginable without the ability of citizens to band together in promoting among the electorate candidates who espouse their political views. The formation of national political parties was almost concurrent with the formation of the Republic itself. And he has cites to the Jeffersonian history of that. Consistent with this tradition, the court has recognized that the First Amendment protects the freedom to join together in furtherance of common political beliefs, which necessarily presupposes the freedom to identify the people who constitute the association and to limit the association to those people only. So, put that another way, the party has a constitutional right to say who its membership is, to say who its leaders are, and to say who will represent the party. He continues, a corollary of the right to associate is the right not to associate. Freedom of association would prove an empty guarantee if associations could not limit control over their decisions to those who share the interests and persuasions that underlie the association's being, to the internal processes of the political party, that jumps over the footnotes. But the point is, this is a fundamental right of the party and its members under the First Amendment, and it's doubly protected because we have the same protections and likely broader protections of the Wyoming State Constitution to freely speak, publish, write on subjects, including political speech. That's both an individual right, so you and I can do that on our personal time, right? It's also a collective right of the party because it flows from this association that we all here in this room have voluntarily decided to be a part of. So that's where this is going. There are now two pending lawsuits. One is likely to be appealed that was just decided 10 days ago or whatever. And then one was just filed. That's really for purposes of tonight. It's important for purposes of motion because I think, as I mentioned before, the motion is premature. We ultimately could, like I said, we ultimately could go that route. There's a wide range of things that we could do. We could endorse in every single race, or we could do nothing in any of the races, or we could do kind of the in-between and say we're going to approve or disapprove, not endorse. But as was mentioned, there's in-between things that can be done. All of that needs to be discussed in this vetting committee. That's why the vetting committee exists. We are not deciding here today, or you are not, I'm not a voting precinct person.
Thank you.
But you are not deciding here today whether or not to have a committee. That was already decided at the state convention. We are having a committee, or we're going to violate the bylaws. So if you want to violate the bylaws, pass the motion. But it will be a violation of the bylaws, which we also adopted at our county convention, which I was a delegate to. So we will be violating our own convention that we just had at Evanston, and we'll be violating the part of the bylaws of the state. If we don't at least form a committee, the committee doesn't have to be precinct people, it can be other people. It needs to exclude all of the candidates, so I appreciate that the chair stepped down, and anybody that's running for any of the county offices is going to be excluded from this process to avoid conflicts. But this is a very valuable discussion to have. I just think that the first place it needs to happen is in the committee. And then once the committee has made a recommendation or chosen not to make a recommendation, then everybody can come back here at the next meeting and decide to proceed or not to proceed. But I think under the bylaws, we have to have a committee. And so I would encourage the voting members to vote down the motion, and then we can proceed to motions about forming a committee and who's going to be on the committee, etc.
I would like to vote.
Parker Jackson can say it's unconstitutional or it's constitutional. I can say it's constitutional or it's unconstitutional. The trouble is, neither one of us have an opinion that counts. The Supreme Court is the one that decides if it's constitutional. And so far, the Supreme Court has ruled, just recently in fact, in the Hot Springs case, that it was constitutional to be able to have statutes that require commitments from the state central committee and from the county central committees. That is what we are under right now. Now, you can say whatever you want about personal First Amendment rights. But so far, after 150 years of Wyoming government, after all these years that the statutes have been in place, no one has said they're unconstitutional. And every time they've been challenged, the courts have said they're constitutional. Now, you may disagree with that. Feel free to do it. I personally think the Supreme Court is going to rule that the state statutes are constitutional. And why is that? There's a number of people in this room and in the state that say that this is a private club. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is not a private club. You name me one club that elects their people by the vote of the people, their membership. You can't just join this club. You have to be elected to it. Your name's on the ballot. It's not a private club. When there's a vacancy in the county, what is the provisions of state law to fill the vacancies? It's us. We suggest 3 names to the county commissioners that has to fill that vacancy. When was the last time the Lions Club submitted 3 names to the county commissioners? I'm telling you, this is not a private club. This is a government entity. It's defined as such in the statutes. And until somebody proves it unconstitutional, that's the law that we need to abide by.
I gotta switch sides first.
One more review.
We have to do it again.
Yeah,
Somebody.
you gotta be against this. Are you?
No, I support. Roach discord.
You go after.
We have to have alternative.
We have to I'll be quick so you can jump in. Just real quick. The Hot Springs case was not decided by the Supreme Court. It was decided by the District Court. So it's one judge's opinion. It will likely go to the Supreme Court at some point.
Uinta County was the Supreme Court.
Yes, but it was not on the merits. Uinta County's decision was a procedural mechanism. It was not on the merits of the case. So the Wyoming Supreme Court has not made a final determination on this question. The U.S. Supreme Court precedent, in my opinion, as a lawyer, supports the party's position on this, which is why it's now in Wyoming. What happened in the Hot Springs case is instructive because it does get to some of what was just said. There is a legal framework established by the Supreme Court for regular general election laws called the Anderson verdict test.
Point of order.
Point of order call.
Can we stick to the matter at hand and the motion or resolutions on the topic? I don't need a history course in litigation or the Supreme Court or anywhere else. Let's talk about the facts and not opinions from non-precinct committee.
It seems like a fact.
If you want to cite any contrary opinion, you're welcome.
I'm not going to debate here.
The point is, there is tension in the law currently that will have to be resolved by the court. That is true. That doesn't affect the decision today whether to form a committee. Whether we form a committee has nothing to do with these cases. Now, what if we get to the endorsement phase next month? That may be a different question. But the point of the meeting tonight, which was, as agenda said, as was moved at the last meeting, was simply to form a committee. That's well protected by the Jones case. There's nothing that the committee does this way. We're following the bylaws, and if we do nothing after, we're fine. So
Thank you, Mr. Eisen.
Thank you.
The legal aspects of this are fascinating, but irrelevant in my mind, because if I think of the people who voted for me to come in this position, they did not want me, they did not expect me to tell them who the committee supports. And I think that if every one of you look at your constituents, the people that voted for you, you're going to have to say the same thing. They don't expect you to tell them. They don't want you to tell them. They'll make up their own decision.
It's not our responsibility to endorse candidates at the primary level. They're all Republicans. And yes, I guess there's a possibility that somebody will put their name in there and they're not a Republican. I think that's a long shot. At this level, in Uinta County, I don't think that's much of a threat. So if you can just examine yourself and the people that voted for you, do you think that they want you to supply them the name that is endorsed by this committee? I think not. And I think that if any of all of you will be honest with yourselves, you'll say the same thing. Question?
Thank you.
Question?
Mr. Chair, let's vote.
Yeah.
All right, questions?
So, question?
Let's call for the question.
Oh, the question's called? Question being called. The motion on the table is to either create a vetting committee or not to create a vetting committee. The vote will go as follows. It will be a secret ballot vote.
If I remember correctly, the motion was to not endorse any candidates. You didn't mention anything about the.
Should we have Mr. Michael I repeat his motion?
Word for word, let's hear it.
Yeah, please read.
I'm reluctant to do that because I don't know if I can do word for word. I move that the Uinta County Republican Central Committee not vet or endorse any candidates. And that it be done by secret ballot.
I do want to say that in our minutes from last time that we said was okay, it says that Rowdy D wanted to wait until more information would be available the first or couple weeks in June to decide on a vetting committee. So we did not decide last time to have a vetting committee.
But that's what this meeting was called for, so that we could appoint a vetting.
The bylaws require, I would say.
We won't go to jail for bylaws.
My motion is to not vet or endorse.
Okay, so the motion is stands. That is what the motion is on. It is what we will let her vote on at this point.
So it has nothing to do with creating a committee.
Correct. It's purely whether or not we are going to endorse, or either endorse a vet or not endorse a vet, is what this vote will be on. Is that clear? Clear as mud?
No. We got paper ballots for
Yes, this will be a secret vote. And so again, the vote is not whether or not we're having a committee, but whether or not this committee has the power and this body has the power to vet and endorse candidates.
And make it clear, if you vote yes, you vote to not endorse.
Correct. So if you vote yes, you're voting to not endorse any candidates. If you vote no, you're suggesting that the committee endorse and vet candidates. Does that make more sense?
But then you still have to vote on that.
Okay,
Correct.
just for clarification, I understand what Ron's saying, but also understand that there is a committee, they can vet and not endorse what Wendy was saying, is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, before the question, I would have the exact opposite of what Mark said. All the people I talk to say, who can I vote for that's going to stand up for what I believe is a Republican? And I think we're in a place.
So at this point, we're actually in the voting portion, so we can have no more discussion on this. So if you are a voting member or have a proxy, we would ask you to come forward and grab a ballot, and then we will vote from this point.
No, it's just a secret ballot.
How's family? You said kids are older than you. How's family? They're still working? I know it was for This is where I
we have 23 votes yes, not to vet or endorse, and we have 14 votes no to vet or endorse. So according to the votes, this motion does carry.
Right.
Motion to adjourn. That's not correct.
Point of order?
So the vetting and endorsement.
Does a non-member of the Senate committee have a right to have a point of order?
No.
It's not a point of order. If the floor was open, I'd like to break it.
The floor's not open quite yet.
Okay.
I move that we create a committee according to the bylaws. They don't have to move forward with endorsing anybody, but they can do some vetting, and they might even get an education themselves.
Do whatever you want.
So I move we create a committee.
So we have a movement and a second to create a committee to at least get that part portion moving forward. Is that correct? So,
Mr. Chair, can I ask the originator a question?
so at this point, we will have discussion, so yes.
Okay, Gilbert, what does vetting mean? What do you mean by vetting?
It means you check the facts and find out if things align with what the party has for alignment for the platform.
So going back to this, so the question is no longer vetting, it's whether or not we create the committee.
Will the committee do nothing? I guess to the originator of the motion. So is the committee just in advance, we have a committee, but they don't ever meet and don't do anything? Is that what you're proposing?
No, it's not.
Okay, what are you proposing then? If I may ask?
We follow the bylaws and create a committee.
Okay,
So the motion on the floor is whether or not we create a committee. Not what the committee's going to do, but whether or not we have a vetting committee. Right now, they don't have the authority to vet. So it would just be a committee. Any further discussion?
Yeah, really before this, in the bylaws, it says the party shall establish objective criteria for vetting. So really, it's up to us to establish objective criteria. I guess we can do that in the committee.
John Conrad.
With the originator motion, consider a friendly amendment that we do the same process on the floor, write down, and set, and then submit to county.
Can you repeat that again?
Would the originator of the bill entertain a friendly amendment in our voting that we write them down like we did previously?
You mean
secret ballot? Yeah, secret ballot.
I would say let's do a voice ballot, and it's questionable, and we have understanding.
Any more discussion? Question?
Call for
Seeing no discussion, the question call. All in favor of moving forward with this vote, please signify by saying yea.
Yay.
All those opposed?
No.
Division being called. All those in favor, please stand.
What if you have a proxy?
If you have a proxy, put up an arm.
Okay, so what are they supposed to say? They still want in? Have your committee all day long, just don't think all
And all those opposed, please stand. Thank you.
Did they count the arms? Did she count the arms? Two votes? Did you count the person and the arm as two votes?
Yes. Yeah, the army for the proxy, so
Oh, okay, got
you did well.
We got two arms.
Okay,
What did you came up to? Okay, so we have 16 for the committee, 19 of that oppose the committee, So the resolution fails. So with that, having no other items on the agenda outside of open discussion, we will open the floor at this time for any other items. Move to adjourn. An adjournment has been called, or is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.